Welcome to the Doc G Show, a radio show cluster. Without further ado, critics have said he has the face for radio and a voice for silent films. Your host, Ben Doc G Gordon.
And we are on the air. Welcome to the Doc G Show. I'm your host, Doc G. With me, filling in for Mike, is the always intrepid, the only man fit for the job, none other than Claude, fly till I die, Lathan. Claude, how's it going?
Doing great, and I'm flying on in with 2 fantasy victories in both of my leagues this year. Hadn't even told you about that. I wanted it to be a surprise. Wow. Genuine reaction.
Wow. Both wins.
Both wins, points league and the categories league. And, I hate breaking hearts like that, but I was ready to take home the trophy.
Wow.
That's impressive. That is impressive, Claude. Something that I could never, ever do.
I got to give credit to, why not just start out with a shout out to King James. I picked LeBron in both leagues, and he did not disappoint at 39 years old. So very, very, happy to have him on my roster, and shout out to him.
A 40-point game just the other night.
I'm playing Luka in the championship in one of the leagues, and Luka had 30-something at 32 at halftime. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, I might, have my opponent come back on me. And then I look at mine and I see 39-year-old LeBron James keeping par with the points.
Keeping pace.
Very happy.
Now, I was going to warn the listeners. That if you aren't basketball fans, then you might want to fast forward about 15 minutes in the show. But we already started into basketball. I didn't even mean it to happen.
I couldn't help myself. I'm sorry.
It already started. So listeners, if you are not NBA fans, I apologize, but you are going to have to fast forward 15 minutes into the show. And if you're listening to the FM radio version, just wait it out. It's
going to be great nonetheless. We got lots of things, great topics to talk about as always.
Exactly. So let's go right now. Listeners that are not interested in the NBA, here's your drop-off point. But Claude, the playoffs, they're almost here.
Yeah.
2
Flew
weeks.
by.
Woohoo! 2 weeks. Can't believe it, man.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a couple questions to get our listeners and ourselves fired up about basketball. But the first things first, I gave you no warning on this question. If you had to choose the last month, who would you rather been? John Collins getting dunked on or Austin Reeves getting dunked on? If you got to choose, which one are you choosing?
I liked Austin Reeves' press conference after he got dunked on. I don't know if you saw it, but him and D'Angelo Russell were sitting next to each other, and D'Angelo just kind of had his head, down a little bit laughing, and Austin took it like a champ, man. I think I'd have to go with Austin because he made a great point. At some point in the league, everyone's going to get dunked on. I mentioned LeBron. He's been dunked on. The greatest players of all time have been dunked on. So it's going to happen. I'm going to go with Reeves because John Collins not only got dunked on, but got a concussion out of it. I don't want that happening to me, so I'm going to go with Reeves.
Woo! Both of them were ugly, man. Those were...
That one on Collins, that was a dunk.
That was insane. I don't know how high. I saw some statistics on it.
Yeah.
And he was 41 inches at the height of that dunk off the ground.
Unreal. His Anthony Edwards vertical is I don't know what it is exactly, but when he gets that gather right before he goes up and he plants that right leg or left leg, man, it's like he's at the top of the backboard.
Springs, man. If I were John Collins, I would have been sprinting in the opposite direction. There's no way I would have tried for anything. I know John Collins can jump.
He's 6'9".
He's a dunker himself, obviously, but I'll let him have that one. Now, serious questions, Claude. I don't trust the Celtics.
Say what?
I know they're awesome. I know they've got the best record by far.
Yeah.
But Porzingis gets hurt. Jason Tatum isn't clutch. What am I missing here? Am I wrong? Are they going to win the championship? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I joked with you before the show. As long as I can talk about Kristaps, you'll let me go off on a tangent, I will. I've got to start with him. I think where that's obviously the key difference between years past and this year. I think they've slowly been rearranging their roster over the years, where there's not really been consistency. They've gone through everyone from Gordon Hayward to Kyrie to Kemba Walker, trying to make this work with the younger guys who are not so young anymore and actually have more experience for their age than the majority of their peers, being Tatum and Brown. I think bringing Al Horford back a few years ago was great. They loved Al the first time around. So there's some consistency now this year, I think, where what you're looking at is Kristaps Porzingis averaging 20 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks a game.
Jeez.
I think when you talk about the best defenders in the NBA, as far as rim protectors, not guards, which I can get to that in a second, but the rim protectors, you're thinking obviously Rudy Gobert, you're thinking Victor Wembanyama, Anthony Davis. Kristaps Porzingis is in that category. He's 7'3". He's got great IQ on when to transition over for help defense. I don't want to go up. I mean, we talked about the dunk a few minutes ago with Anthony Edwards. There's a few guys you don't really want to jump with. Zion got destroyed the other night, 2 blocks in a row on the same possession. Kristaps just looked like a man against him, and that's Zion, who's a big guy. He's not the tallest guy in the NBA.
He'll lose some people.
Yeah, he's strong, he's big, he's aggressive. But Kristaps, he met him at the rim twice. I think arguably this year, I know he's missed some games, but they're prioritizing health, to your point, making sure he's right going into the playoffs. I think that at times this year, he's been their second best player. I think he's been better than the $300 million man in Jaylen Brown at times. And I believe that he should have been an all-star this year. I think that Scotty Barnes got the replacement nod. And that's great because I like to see young players add these accolades to their resume. But what Kristaps has done for the team, when you're prioritizing winning as a category for guys to make these in-season awards, an all-star game, Kristaps and what he's done for this team, leading them to not just the best record, but by 10 games, basically in the East. I think if he gets hurt, that's a big factor. But you could say the same about Drew Holiday or Derek White or any of their starting 5, even Al Horford and their 6-man. I think that if they stay healthy, though, they can run through the East, and they've got a great shot, especially after learning in the finals, losing to the Warriors, that experience, they could win this thing.
Well, speaking of the East versus the West, and the West, we've got Minnesota, we've got Oklahoma. I don't really trust either of those guys. And then we've got Denver, who I do trust because we have
for
none
good
other
reason
than the Joker himself, probably going to be the third 3-time MVP coming up. I'm guessing that's who you have the most faith in, Denver. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, I think that you're spot on. That how could you not, right? I was listening to JJ Redick's podcast. He's actually got a couple out now on a YouTube channel. But the Old Man and the 3 podcast, he was saying that the lineup that has played most together this season in the NBA is the Denver Nuggets. Their starting 5, I believe, is right over the 800-minute mark.
Ooh.
You've got teams that just crossed the 100-minute mark, 200-minute mark. I mean, this team, they won the championship last year. They've been fluctuating between first and third really most of the season for being the top seed out west. I definitely trust them the most. I think the obvious things that you talk about with Minnesota, you're looking at the injuries that they've had and Cat. But I don't want to just settle for that, right? That's the easy out. I think I'd take it a step further and say with every negative can come positives. That's any situation in basketball and life. always going to be something positive that comes out of it.
So true.
I was hoping that Nas Reed would be the positive for the Timberwolves. I was hoping that McDaniels would be a positive for the Timberwolves, and it doesn't really seem that they've taken that leap to replace the production that Cat was giving them. So I don't know if they're gonna have it. Anthony Edwards is ridiculous. He's unreal, and he's only 22 years old. And Gobert is fairly consistent this season, but I think the rest of it has to piece together. Oklahoma City, on paper, too young, right? That's what everyone says. They don't have the experience. I don't care about that. I think that, you know, their positive side that I'm actually buying into a little bit is they act like an AAU team in the NBA. They don't act like a traditional team. And I saw
they're
where
really free. Yeah.
Yeah. The North Carolina Tar Heels men's starting five averages the same age basically as the starting lineup for the Thunder. And that's only because SGA is 25 and bumps it up a little bit. The rest of the starters bring the average way down. They are young, but they're talented. They're fiery. They remind me a lot of actually the Thunder from Durant, Westbrook, and Harden's years. Just a young, really gonna get after it team. But yeah, I mean, out of those three, how do you choose against the Nuggets? I don't think I can.
Yep. Quick one here. Do you have any faith in the Clippers? They've tricked me 4 seasons in a row.
You know, when we did the was it the in-season interview I did with you, or was it? I can't remember. We did a show
right at the beginning of the season.
You asked me who I thought would win, and I actually picked the Clippers. This was before they traded for James Harden, because, you know, before you don't want to. Yeah. It's fun to pick somebody new. Nuggets were kind of an obvious choice. I wanted to take someone who was out there. They've had some failures in the playoffs recently, injuries and all that.
Yeah.
Something has not looked right with the team recently since Russell Westbrook broke his wrist or his hand and went out. Now he's since come back, but they still, I think, are trying to find that flow.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I'm going to be real here with Kawhi and Paul George. Yes, there's the health situation, but there's 2 things that I don't trust. And that is James Harden in the playoffs. He's hit or miss, and he is amazing. If he goes into the playoffs and has a set strategy, he calls himself the system. He's a system within himself. If he's just dishing the ball out, getting assists and playmaking, that's fine. Don't overdo things, but he does not need the ball when it comes to crunch time in the playoffs. That's the first thing. The second thing that I think a lot of people aren't bringing up that needs to be talked about more is Paul George's contract. If people don't, it's the same thing with Klay Thompson and Golden State. If people don't think that this affects these guys mentally, which they're some of the strongest mentally tough athletes on the planet, but this is a lot of money you're talking about. This is your home, your families, your kids, where you want them to go to school, all these factors playing that you're dealing with off the court. And Paul George and the Clippers can't seem to find common ground on what that contract extension is going to look like. And they already extended Kawhi Leonard, who took less than the max. I think that's where you're looking at the issue is, will Paul George potentially take a little bit less than what he feels he's worth? And I do think that, again, when you get in these games, he may not think about it one game, but that next game, maybe he thought about it and he's not completely concentrated on what's actually happening. So I don't want to speak for him. I don't know Paul George, obviously, but I think that mentally those factors come into play, and those are my concerns with the Clippers.
I'm just worried Kawhi's not going to make it. I always get worried. I mean, let's be honest.
He was healthy all year. I think he's missed 3 or 4 games the whole season.
I know.
Crazy.
But I've been burned too many times, Claude. Too many times, man. It's a long, long time since 2019.
Oh, yeah.
1 through, we got to go quick on these last 2. 1 through 10 in the East. Who do you think is the most overlooked?
This is going to shock you a little bit. I think it's the Orlando Magic.
Oh, no, it doesn't shock me.
Nobody wants to talk about them. And that's what we're here to do, is talk about the things that nobody else wants to, because we give the best insights. Am I right?
Amen.
That's right.
I'm just saying the Magic have had an incredible year. Last year, I think that they were 15 games or so under 500. And then from the rest of the season, they basically played 500 basketball. Yep. And that has translated this year into them being, I believe they're at the 5 seed right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have a legitimate all-star in Paolo Banchero. I mean, he's been terrific. 22, 7, and 5. He's 6'10". He can handle the basketball like he's a 6'4" guard.
Yeah.
He can post up. You talk about tiers and scoring, and for those listeners out there, tiers you have, within your 3-point line, you've got your mid range, and then you've got right next close to the basket in the paint. He can do it all. Jalen Suggs, Cole Anthony, they're having career years. Markelle Fultz has been out the lineup, but they've got a really strong mixture of guards, really strong mixture of big men as well. And they've got vet leadership. I love Joe Ingles.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that I wanted to point out the most with them is their defense. And a big piece of that this year when he's in the lineup is actually Jonathan Isaac, who has been able to stifle players like Giannis, significant players meeting them at the rim. We talked about rim protectors earlier, but they're third in opponent points per game. They need to get their offense up because they're averaging about the same as what they're giving up, which is at about 110 points per game, but third in the league out of 30 teams. That's pretty good. And I think that when you get in the playoffs, the game slows down. That's where that's going to come into play more for them. So do I expect them to make a run? Not going to say that, but I do expect them to be competitive and gain some real experience this season.
Yeah. 1 through 10 in the West. Who we got?
I mean, I wanted to go with Dallas, but I'm just going to make a point for them before I give you my real answer. They're 9-1 in their last 10. Kyrie and Luka look amazing. Kyrie looks like he did when he played with LeBron. Very comfortable in his role now. They made some trades at the deadline. The only thing with Dallas that I'll point out is when I mentioned earlier about the minutes per starting five. Dallas's starting five is actually the one that has just cracked the 100-minute mark on the season, which is unbelievable. And they're winning games with players in and out of the lineup. But I mean, Luka's the real deal. Top 4 MVP voting, no doubt. He's the real deal.
He's got to hit that defense, though, man. That defense is.
It's not horrible. He's big. He's a big body. He's 6'8".
Yeah,
I'm not saying he's great.
He loses focus all the time, though. That's the thing that kills me. That's the thing that kills me.
I know we gotta wrap it up. So I just want to point out, though, the team that I really wanted to talk about, the Pelicans.
Oh yeah.
I think that talk about opponents' points per game. Their defense has been great this year. I looked at it earlier. They're at 8th in opponents' point per game. They have long, lengthy guys. Herb Jones, Trey Murphy having great years. But when you look at their roster as a whole, the consistency of averages, right? Zion 23-5-5, Ingram 21-5-6, CJ 19-5-4, Murphy 14 points per game and 3 threes per game. That, as far as 4 guys controlling the majority of your scoring, that's pretty consistent. That is very, very good, and you don't see that with most teams where 3-4 guys are giving you basically 15 plus points per game and winning games. A lot of times that's selfish basketball.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think they showed glimpses last season, and before injuries happened, then they kind of went downhill. I think they were like 2nd or 3rd in the league at the midpoint, close to the midpoint of the year, and dropped off. Same thing's kind of happening right now. I hate it because Ingram just went down with an injury. But I think if Ingram comes back, again, same as the Magic, I'm not expecting the Pels really to make a run, but anything can happen. And if other teams have players that actually do get hurt and the Pelicans are healthy, I don't see why they can't make a run. They've got everything that they need.
Claude, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, and it'll be playoff time.
I'm excited. Very excited.
Speaking of excitement, are you ready to fire the show up?
Let's fire it up.
5. All 3 engines up and burning. 2, 1, 0, and lift off.
Oh, Claude, my goodness. We have a tremendous guest today. We have 2 parts of the fantastic group Needtobreathe on the show.
Okay.
A group of South Carolina fellas. They've done it all. They've sold out arenas. They've toured with Taylor Swift. It's ridiculous. And I want to give the listeners a heads up. They're not aware. We switched, obviously, since Claude is on the show. The Mike C Top 3 today topic is new. So listeners, go ahead and think about your top 3. It's going to be top 3 things cafeteria used to serve in school?
Sweet.
What are your top 3, listeners? Think about it. You've got like 40 minutes, and we're going to come back to it.
I was
Okay?
really excited when you told me that was the question.
Yeah, oh, it's a good one. It's a good one. But first, we need to start where we start. Birthday suit.
Happy birthday, Mr. President.
Yes.
Here we go. So, Claude, I think since last time you were on the show, we've switched. I'll give you just a condensed clue.
Okay.
And if we need to go to the fuller clue, we will. But
Perfect.
Here we go. Born on April 3rd, 1958 in New York. Our birthday suit wearer is known for his acting roles in movies like It's Complicated, The Royal Tenenbaums, Along Came Polly, The Departed, Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and he also starred in the TV show 30 Rock with Tina Fey. His character in 30 Rock was Jack Donaghy, and his character in Mission Impossible was Alan Hunley. Any ideas?
Honestly, for all the TV lovers listening, I hate that I'm not gonna get this. I don't think, because I didn't watch much 30 Rock, and I never really got into the Mission Impossible. Sorry, Tom Cruise.
I'll give you another clue. He made a lot of headlines in 2021 for a shooting accident that occurred on the set of a film called Rust.
Rust. Oh, was it Alec Baldwin?
There it is. There it is.
There we. Okay, I feel better about myself now. I was worried.
The topical clue got it. Yes. Yes. It's still up in the air. It's great. That was such a crazy story.
I will
man.
say I am an Alec Baldwin fan. I think he does really great impressions. I've loved him on SNL.
He does such a good job as like a role actor. Like he has this little part that he always like. The Departed. He makes The Departed for me. That movie. It's like and Along Came Polly. It's like
I should have gotten it after that. He was hilarious in Along Came Polly.
Yeah.
I should have remembered that he was in
the
that.
boss.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, let's see. He's turning. What is he turning? He's turning. Man, carry the denominator. What do we got? 66. Turning 66. Man, happy birthday to Alec Baldwin there. Also, I didn't know this. I saw this in his background stuff. He worked as a busboy at Studio 54 when he was in high school.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That
Came
had
a
to
long
be,
way from busboy, huh?
but I mean, that had to be an interesting busboy job at Studio 54, man. That had to be some weird stuff. Claude, are you ready to rip some headlines?
Let's rip it.
Claude, don't know if you've been keeping up with this. This is a weird story. Corey Richins. The Corey Richins trial. She's
No.
she's an author. She's an author, and she had a husband and 3 kids, and apparently she allegedly ended up killing her husband with
Oh.
a poisoned drink.
Mm.
And apparently there were a bunch of different motives. They're sparsing it out in trial now. And now, like I said, what killed the husband was a poisoned drink. But now that they're digging into the details, it appears she actually tried to kill him other times before the poison drink. She had other things. And prosecutors have alleged that a sandwich that she got for him on Valentine's Day, she left with a note on Valentine's Day in his truck. And they say she purchased the sandwich from a local diner in town. And in the same week, witnesses said she bought several dozen fentanyl pills and put one of the fentanyl pills into the sandwich.
Wait, what?
And I got to stop right there, Claude. And first, I got to ask, who are the witnesses? Like, the witnesses said this about
Snitches get stitches.
Well, like, who saw her buy a dozen fentanyl pills and was just standing around like, well, lady.
Or
just
was
bought-
she telling people that she bought that?
Exactly. Like, how did this information get out? Because, like, I feel like, somebody should be like, should I report this? Nah, I'll be fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's up to only good things with that fentanyl.
Clearly, self-use.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, second thing, prosecutors, Claude, said that the husband texted his friends after he ate the sandwich, because he ate the sandwich.
Oh, no.
And he had a reaction to the fentanyl. But he had a reaction. Sometimes fentanyl gives a reaction almost like an allergic reaction.
Right.
And so that's what he thought he was having, was some kind of crazy allergic reaction. But he texted one of his friends telling him that he almost died. And he said he thought his wife tried to poison him.
Mm.
And I got to say, Claude, that's all it takes for me. I'm out.
Yeah.
After that, I'd like, no questions asked. I am out. The day that happens, I am leaving the house and never coming back. Leaving all of my stuff. I'm not coming back for any of the kids. They're now gone. I'm never talking to any of those people again. Like,
everything's booby-trapped at that point.
Yeah.
Paranoia would just be through the roof.
Crazy. Like, I can't believe, like, he texted his friend, I think she tried to kill me, and you're not gonna head out after that? That's crazy, man.
Let's give it another try, babe.
No way.
Next sandwich will be fentanyl free.
No way. Claude, do you know Damian Hurley?
The name sounds extremely familiar.
Well, he's a film director, and he just made his film directing debut. It's a movie called Strictly Confidential.
Okay.
And some of the media had questions for Damian about directing the movie because the movie has a pretty racy, intimate scene. It's a little scandalous, you know? And you may be asking yourself, what's so crazy about that? Well, I'll tell you, one of the women in the intimate scene was 58 years old.
Oh.
Now you may be asking yourself again, what's so crazy about that?
That just sounds pretty normal.
Well, the 58-year-old woman was Damian's mom.
Oh, no, that's not normal at all.
Damian's mom is Elizabeth Hurley.
Oh.
And she gets half naked in this movie and gets it on with another lady. And her son was filming and directing it all.
Oh, no. I mean, I think that there's probably some conversation that you have to have with yourself and your mom, maybe even the crew, and say, this is for the arts. This is artsy. We can get away with this and we're going to justify it. But
I got to say, Claude, if that were me in the same position, I'd be asking myself, did I die and I'm not now in hell? Is that what's going on? Like, that's the worst situation ever. You're filming your mom in a sexual situation. No. Mm-mm. And he said when talking to reporters, Claude, he said, I hate to say it, but it felt totally normal. I don't know what that says about us.
Or his childhood. How is that normal?
Well, he goes on to say, he says, I was speaking to a lot of my friends who are also second generation of parents in the industry. And they say exactly the same thing. That things to the outsiders may seem totally strange and extraordinary, but for us, we've grown up with it every day.
Yeah.
And I got to say, no, Damian, don't try to pass it off as some inside industry situation, trying to make us feel less than with your two outsiders comment. Yeah, we're outsiders. We're outsiders to the I don't want to watch my mom have sex club. Yes.
I guess you have to say what you need to say to be able to sleep at night.
Apparently.
More power to Damian.
To me, Claude, I would have been like, we're getting another director for this part. I'm going to go find one guy for this 2 minutes, and then I'll come back in.
Wow.
Claude, here's a headline. Free old school phone is a huge hit at New Jersey Library, even if some need help using it. Yeah. So apparently, Claude, at this New Jersey, at the Summit Free Public Library, they put in a landline phone for the use for the public.
And I take it that the younger generation does not know how to use a landline phone.
They're a little confused. So
That's sad.
First off, Claude, I anything that's free, I support, and if it's helping someone make some calls they need, cool. But I do have to be honest, I was a little surprised how much excitement and publicity this landline phone received. Amy Bear Shield, she's the library director. She said, "We've honestly been blown away by the overwhelming amount of public support on all of our social media and even through people coming into the building. There's just been a lot of appreciation." And I got to stop there, Claude, and say, who's feeling the need to post on social media how much they love a landline phone?
Well, I mean, think about all the other absurd, ridiculous, irrelevant things people post about online.
That's true. But I mean, you've got social media, which would make me think there's a high probability that you have a phone.
Yeah.
So, what are you using this phone for in the library? Second, Amy said library staffers, like you predicted, Claude, library staffers have directed many students who never used the landline how to use the free phone to dial numbers. I'm guessing that tutorial was pretty short, Claude.
Pick up the phone, press the numbers, and let it ring. Is it unless it's one of the old school like dial backs, or whatever?
No. You just got giant numbers on this thing, so that it's not a rotary. Wow. You don't have a rotary, no. But I know, listeners, there could be a dial out number. Okay, so everything that I just said, press 9 before it. There you go. But so I'm just saying, Claude, keep in mind, if you need a phone, just head up 95 to New Jersey. It's a short 11-hour trip and use their phone. Free service there.
I might just do that maybe this weekend. I'm not sure. It sounds
little weekend trip.
I'll call you when I get there.
Yes.
See what I did there? Yeah.
I saw what you did there. Claude, little story out of Atlanta. This was, I think that we got this will be the last one here. There's an FBI field office in Atlanta, and apparently a guy tried to get into the gated entrance of the building. He tried to follow an employee's car through the gated entry. But of course, like many gated entries, the gate and a stopper system immediately just destroyed his car. Literally, the FBI said it was destroyed.
Word.
The man then got out of his car and tried to run inside the gate, but was tackled by special agents. The FBI said he was not associated with the facility. And Claude, I want you to just go ahead and take a guess what kind of car this man was driving and what state his license plate were.
Subaru, Florida.
Oh, see, you should have went with your home state.
Oh,
South
no.
Carolina, Claude.
Well, that's
South
not too
Carolina.
far off from Florida. We got a lot of special people around.
Very special. Very special. And the car, a Buick, Claude. A Buick.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is a situation where if you're this fella, this was really, you needed to phone a friend. You needed to go to the New Jersey library, call somebody up you can really trust, and you call them up and you say, "Hey, I'm thinking about storming the FBI office in Atlanta. What do you think?" And they say, I hear the security's pretty good at the FBI.
Man.
It's kind of what they do. You probably don't want to do that. You know what? Instead of storming the FBI office, since you're in Atlanta, maybe you should go to the World of Coke.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Way more refreshments, way less guns, significantly less risk of you going to jail or getting murdered. I say World of Coke, And then this guy is at World of Coke, and the only thing he's risking is type 2 diabetes. You know?
Yeah.
I think-
I don't know what makes people wake up in the morning and think this is how I'm gonna go about my day. That's what
Yeah.
that guy thought was I guess
Yeah.
a good thing
Well,
to do, and
You
I don't know.
wonder, yeah, you wonder if there was a right turn somewhere, if he was just on annoying, and then he was just like, you know what? FBI agency, or was it like a long thing coming? I don't know. I don't know. But Claude, we're going to take a break. We are going to be right back. But first, we are going to hear from the fellas from South Carolina who did not try to break into an FBI office. That would be none other than Need to Breathe with Outsiders right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show, Spinnaker Radio, WSKRLP 95.5 FM in Jacksonville, Florida. Since
You're pretty
Mike
good
is
at
not
that.
here, well, you know, I've had 7 years and change of practice.
Thank you.
Listeners, since Mike is not here, I will tell you, you need to subscribe any way that you can subscribe. I would prefer you subscribe on YouTube because that's currently where I'm putting my focus, Claude. I don't know if you knew this or not. This year, this is a 2024 special.
Okay.
I have neglected YouTube for the past almost 7 years.
So true.
And going into 2024, I was like, why don't we do more things on YouTube? What's the deal?
Oh, come on.
And so I've been doing it, Claude. I've been hitting the YouTube hard.
I love it. We all need goals.
Yeah, exactly. And so we are looking for subscribers on YouTube. Claude, do you have a YouTube? Do you have a Google email?
I do. Yeah, I actually have a YouTube login.
Subscribe to the Doc G Show, Claude.
I
Do
will.
it.
And if I'm going to do it, then that means everybody else listening has to do it.
Amen.
Obviously.
If Claude is taking the time, listeners, you have to take the time. Well, you don't really have to take the time, but we'd appreciate if you took the time. It'd be really nice if you took the time. Claude, we need to thank the regular listeners. That'd be the 5-star listeners.
Mhm.
I'm going to try to get them all. I'm not going to get them in one breath, but I'm going to try to do it. Here we go.
Shout out.
Shout out to Jacksonville, Florida, Columbia, South Carolina, Radford, Virginia, Gainesville, Florida, Frankfurt, Germany, Anoka, Minnesota, Ashburn, Virginia, Piracai, Brazil, San Diego, California, Dublin, Ireland, Boardman, Oregon, Genoa, Italy, Richards, Texas, Barcelona, Spain, Winfield, West Virginia, Biloxi, Mississippi, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Peoria, Illinois, Tahiti, Texas, Toms River, New Jersey, Olive Branch, Mississippi, Asheville, North Carolina, Los Angeles, California, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Athens, Georgia, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Chicago, Illinois, Boynton, Virginia, and newest on the list, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. There we go.
Love
There
it.
we go. Yeah, good list, Claude. It keeps growing. And we
For you, I remember the days of you being able to get that in one breath.
easy.
Yeah.
Easy. I
And,
remember when I first started 5-star listeners, I think I stopped around somewhere. I think when we first started doing the actual different 5-star, 4-star, I think the cutoff point was Winfield, West Virginia.
Mm.
So the 5-star listeners have about doubled. About
That's
doubled since
awesome.
then.
Well,
You
shout
know?
out to everybody who's on the 5-star list.
Amen.
And when we
Amen.
get
So-
everyone to subscribe to YouTube, then it'll get even bigger.
That's right.
Even bigger. Even bigger. 4-star listens. Here's some semi-regulars for us. Infield, United Kingdom. They had some listens this week. Shout out to Infield. Pooler, Georgia. Drive through Pooler a lot. It's close to Savannah. Austin, Texas. Shout out to Austin. My brother was there last week. St. Simon's Island, Georgia. Shout out to St. Simon's Island. Asbury Park, New Jersey. Shout out to the home of the boss, Bruce Springsteen. Hartford, Connecticut. Shout out to Hartford. Las Vegas, Nevada. Shout out to the old Sin City. Reynoldsburg, Ohio. Shout out to Reynoldsburg. Budapest, Hungary. Shout out to Budapest.
Nice.
Atlanta, Georgia. Hopefully the listener did not end up in a in a jail cell because he was charging the FBI station. We're going to help.
Maybe he had that on the radio in the car when he did it.
I can't take it. No. That'd be bad if we promoted that. Sao Paulo, Brazil. Shout out to you guys. Andover, Massachusetts, and lastly, Queenstown, New Zealand. Shout out to you guys. Claude, I got to pull out the old miscellaneous file real quick here.
Yeah.
What about this whole Diddy situation?
Oh man, when people talk about rap music, especially now, I mean, I love Biggie Smalls. Yep. I had nothing against Tupac by any means, but I was a Biggie guy, and Biggie obviously ran with Diddy.
Yep.
The parties. I was listening to an interview the other day of Usher. It was actually Usher. Used to live at Diddy's house when he was around 14 years old.
Yeah.
And something like that. And he just said the parties. It's an older interview, a little bit older, but he said the parties were ridiculous. Biggie, Lil' Kim, big names that were at these parties.
Oh yeah.
So I think Diddy's been doing this a long time. I think he's got a lot of connections, a lot of clearly powerful friends.
Yeah.
I believe that we got to wait for some more information to come out. I'm not gonna
let's not choose sides.
Not choosing sides at all. But I will say that if the allegations are true, it's very troublesome.
It's troublesome. I got to say right now, there aren't a lot of times in the last 25 years that I said, at least I'm not Diddy. But I'll definitely say right now, at least I'm not Diddy. It's not a good situation. I would not, and I got to be honest, though. You said you weren't choosing sides. You got to wait until we see more evidence. And I agree, Claude. And I got to be honest, it doesn't really affect. Be
sensible about it.
Yeah, but the whole situation in general doesn't really affect me too much. I was never at a Diddy party. I was never sex trafficked by Diddy. So, I'm not super interested, but
very true.
It's funny that you mentioned the Usher video because I do find it hilarious. Anytime a celebrity is accused of like some horrible crimes or actions, the internet has to bring up some video from 20 years ago that highlights how we're supposed to have known that they were a sicko that was supposed to be behind bars, Do
you know what exact video has been circulating in regards to this specific topic?
I don't.
It's the Justin Bieber video.
Oh, yeah. I did see,
Because Usher left Justin there for a weekend one time, and Justin apparently never went back. And these are all conspiracy theories. Nobody really knows.
Well, that's the thing is like, I just find it funny. It can be any of these. It'll be like a video of Diddy presenting an award ceremony, and he puts his arm on another presenter's shoulder, and it goes slow motion, and they're like, and we're supposed to extrapolate from the video that we knew he was a sick bag from the beginning, and I gotta say, Claude, I got news for you. If a person is caught doing a horrible crime, no previous video of them is going to look great.
No. Everybody can play Captain Hindsight.
No, nobody looks at a video of Ted Bundy gardening and goes, would you look at those begonias? He really knows his way around a perennial. Am I right? That's pretty nice. That's good. No, they think, my God, that's a crazy serial killer. That's what you think. Come on. It's always ridiculous. Every single time, Claude, every single time there's a situation, the video comes and and they got to play some creepy music behind it. They got to slow it down. And you're just like, yeah. Well, in hindsight, I'm sure everything looks creepy when you look at it in hindsight.
Instead of shame on the person for allegedly doing these things, shame on us for not recognizing it all of those years ago.
Just it's like you said before, Claude.
Make it make sense.
It's gossipy. Come on, guys, gossipy. Yeah. Let it play out. Let's see what they find in all of those vaults and safes that they broke into in Diddy's houses, you know? And I say houses. There were multiple houses. Anyways, we are going to take a break. We are going to be right back with none other than Seth and Josh from Need to Breathe right here on the Doc G Show. Welcome back to the show, everybody. We are very excited to be welcoming back two members, fantastic band Need to Breathe, who will be in Jacksonville April 28th at Daly's Place. We have none other than Seth Bolt and Josh Lovelace on the show. Fellas, how's it going?
Good, man. Great to be here.
Yeah. Fantastic. Well, first, I wanted to get a little gauge because you guys just finished the first leg of the Caves tour there, and you finished it in November. And I wanted to ask Seth, due to the fact that you have a tiny human that lives with you now, how's the time off from touring been?
Yeah, so I have a 7-month-old now, and I knew it was out of the question to ask the band could the infant be on the bus with me so I don't miss any of those early moments. But it was great. I think the blessing is that you get to sleep through the night when you're on tour, and that's nice. And so I got to catch up on sleep, and it was an awesome first leg of the tour. And
Nice.
now I'm back home. She actually, my daughter just did her first Easter egg hunt this Saturday, and so I've been soaking it up and really enjoying all the sweet time together.
I'm guessing she wasn't that great at hunting the eggs yet.
She got 2, one for each hand. I mean,
There you go.
Pretty good.
That
I
is.
decided not to be that parent that's like competitive on behalf of my child and knock other kids to the ground. And
You
that
see
kind
this kid? He's already got 2. Already got 2, everybody. Who's counting? Josh, I watched your start of 2024 video there on Instagram, and it seemed like a pretty good time. Start of 2024. I mean, you had VHSs, you had Golden Girls, and you were growing your hair out. All things I can get behind.
Yeah, man. I got off of social media for a while, and I was like, I feel like I need to give this thing another try. Like, try to talk to people and be, tell them what's been going on. And then I was like, well, honestly, not much has been going on, so I'm gonna have to just say what I've been doing. And yeah, I have grown my hair out. It keeps getting taller, and
It does.
I'm kind of waiting. Yeah, I'm waiting till like 2 days before the tour to finally cut it. Probably it'll be a little shorter, but I don't go anywhere right now, so like there's no point in looking. I'm just like, let's let it ride as long as possible.
It's fine. I go places and I
looks-
don't worry about my
looks
hair.
great.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. Well,
I think
it's
you should,
reminiscent.
I think you should go for peak Art Garfunkel. And
Hey, I should do that.
Mhm.
It's reminiscent of when I first started with the band. I haven't had it this long in a little while. So when I first started, it's funny. I joined the band about 13 years ago now, which is crazy. Almost 14 years ago. And I remember when I was saying, I told the guys, I was like, hey, if you ever need a keyboard player, whatever. And so evidently the guys went back and looked at old videos of me and my other band, and they saw me with this big hair, and they were like, we can't have that guy in our band. So it was a lot bigger than it is now, but I've kind of figured out a little bit of a shape. At that point, it was just as round can be. So we're owning it now.
you're like, man, his playing is just incredible, but like that hair is I think that we can't do that. But it's amazing. I mean, but
It's
you
just gotta
cut
go.
the sides off, and that made all the difference. It's
Yeah.
like when it was
Right.
full,
It was out. Yeah, it was
it was
all
like full
yeah,
bozo,
I
right.
like it. Either way, I like it. I think it
Thank
works.
you.
I think
Thank
it
you
works.
very much.
Well, I
Yeah.
noticed too, Josh. I mean, for the listeners that don't know, your VHS collection, it's pretty impressive. How many
Yeah.
do you have? Do you have an estimation there?
Yeah, I probably have about, I don't know, 4 or 5 thousand, maybe,
Woo!
Wow.
maybe.
So
It's kind of a lot.
basically,
Yeah.
we hit a point and decide, you know what, we just need to shut the internet down. You're going to be like Blockbuster Reborn.
I'm your guy. Oh yeah, I'm your guy. Well, it's funny. Like I totally got it. Like I had a small collection of VHS, and small meaning like 30, not many before COVID actually, which is kind of crazy how it kind of has gotten out of hand. But once we were in the pandemic, I was like couldn't really go anywhere and do anything, but I would just put a mask on and go to like the thrift stores, and just at that point you could get all these movies. And then some people started finding out like, hey, I heard you're collecting VHS. Here's 8 boxes of VHS for my family. And I was like, what do I do with all this stuff? So I'd go through them, and then it became like, it really is something like fun for me, and my kids love it. They go and they find the movies. They're like, what's this movie? I'm like, it's Rookie of the Year. It's like, let's watch it. I'm like, it's kind of cool to go back and watch movies, that way. So I own it. I love it.
You got any prizes in there? Are there any gems?
There are some. I've got some old, old Star Wars stuff, like from the early, like some of the early editions. I got some of that stuff, Back to the Futures. But honestly, like I watch them. So like so there is like a community of people that collect them, and they're like, this one's worth X amount of dollars. I'm just like, I'm gonna open it because I want to watch it. And it's probably a terrible investment move. I'm not, but it's definitely more for fun and like nostalgic.
It's a usable collection. I like it.
Exactly. It's usable. It's very usable. The problem is we go on tour for like 6-7 weeks at a time, and then I'm like, well, I can't watch these on the road, so I'll collect them. But then most of the time I'll find a VCR at like a thrift store and stick it in a junk bunk or in Seth's bunk or whatever when he's not looking, and then be able to watch stuff on off days. So
I was about to say, people are going to come into the tour bus and be like, who's VHS?
That's usually it's usually VHS or records or so. I'm always collecting junk on the road. There's no doubt. Vinyl, musical instruments. It's my thing for sure.
All the new stuff, the new technology.
Exactly.
It's Josh's antique store.
Right. The bus is my antique store.
Well, I will say before moving on to the band there, real quick too, on the Golden Girls, I actually saw when you mailed Betty White way back in the day, she sent you a signed picture back.
That's true.
That is a boss move right there with Betty.
I thought so too. So there was a time like I guess I was in middle school or early high school. I got into like a lot of sitcoms, and so I'd write letters to all these stars and be like, hey. I'm a big fan. Will you write back? So, and I got a bunch back. I got one from Jennifer Aniston on Friends, and then I can't remember some other. I can't remember who it is off the top of it. But Betty White, I did. I got an autographed photo, and it says to Josh, "Thanks for watching, Betty White," and it's like a signed thing. I'm like, that's so awesome. So I got it. I'll keep it forever.
You gotta give it up to Betty White. That's why I love her, man. Just
the best. She's the best.
She was the best. Well, guys, what's your guess on the Need to Breathe song that drew me in and made me a fan? What do you think?
Go for it, Seth. What do you think?
The Outsiders.
Wow.
Nailed it.
Did you get it?
Man.
Wow.
That's it.
Nice.
That's it. It was about 2010-ish. I was working at a gym in Columbia, South Carolina, and they played this alt rock station, 99.7, and they wore the Outsiders out. Like, I mean, it was played every 2 or 3 hours in that gym. And normally when I hear a song like that, I end up hating it, because I hear it just every time. But that song, I just liked it so much more every single time I heard it. And you guys actually recently did a killer version of that on the CMT campfire sessions. How did that overall, how did the campfire sessions go for you, Seth?
Well, honestly, I think we rehearsed for like days in Bear's studio, and it felt amazing. And then we got there and went to plug in and record, and then we've got like in-ear monitors stuffed in our ears, and we're like getting a quick mix, and like it just feels nothing like it did. It feels like you're kind of on an island. It feels like you're trying to have an acoustic moment via the internet. It's like, okay, I think I hear everyone else, and I'm trying to do my thing, so it didn't feel great. Or I guess maybe there's just a little anxiety there.
Yeah.
But I think it turned out really great.
Oh no, it definitely did. I definitely thought it sounded amazing. Seth, you've been there since the beginning. You've known Bear since you were 7. You got piano lessons from his mom. Who was Bear like back then?
That's a great question. I mean, he's always been a leader, and he's always been, he's always lived life by his own rules. And I remember, I was growing up, like, his dad was the pastor of church that my parents went to. So like I knew him inside like a church context first. And I just couldn't believe how wild he was at times during, like he would do stuff. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that or did that, or he'd shave his head, or he was a wild man, and he was gonna do it his way. But I think it has served him well and served the band really well that he's just led with a great confidence, and he's just come up with a ton of ideas all throughout. I think what that translated to for the band was like he found ways to sort of buck convention and provide a better show experience for our fans in small clubs and things that traditionally just would not have allowed us to bring in the big light show that we wanted or something else. Like he found a way to do it. I mean, we had no money. We're in a van and trailer, and I think the saying is like 10 pounds of stuff in a 5-pound bag. Like we had a trailer that like we put so much stuff in it that the shell started coming off the frame. And we had like ratchet straps around the whole trailer just trying to keep it together. But there was like just a drive and a determination there to like never miss a show, always give the fans the absolute best show that we could pull off. And he drove that, and it's really just defined our culture, how we still look at touring, and how we're still every time looking at like how can we raise the bar, how can we give fans even more, and how can we also kind of share the inspiration that we feel from the newness and the new capabilities that we have with new touring members and new members of the band, and how do we like revisit songs that we haven't played in forever that are fan favorites and like totally put a fresh spin on it and that kind of thing. So I see a through line there, from when we were kids to today.
Yeah. Bear seems a little bit like that guy that's annoyingly good at everything, sort of like a Tom Brady type. Is he that type that all of a sudden he'll pick something up and you're like, what? How are you better than everybody at that already? Is that the case, or no? Am I just seeing that?
Kind of, but you just can't tell him that. That's the problem. That's the key. If you tell him, then it's
it goes
over.
to the head. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I got
No,
you.
he is a good leader, and he does happen to be really good at a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think he's when I first started with the band, he was kind of like a drill sergeant in a lot of ways. Like you kind of fell in line. And I think that's, he played college football. So I think a lot of that kind of comes from that. And that creeps out every now and then still, but I feel like he has grown a lot as a leader and tries to relate to those that, may not have been playing college football. They might have been writing Betty White a letter to get an autograph. So you got to relate to everybody. I think he's gotten a little better at that.
It's pretty much the same thing.
It's apples and apples. I mean, it's really close.
It's
Yeah,
close.
It is. Yeah.
Well, Seth, you arguably you got started earlier, I would say, in music, at least as far as the core group of Need to Breathe. There, I mean, you had a studio when you were 16. I had a Discman when I was 16, so you were a little bit more more along in recording process. Who who were the initial artists that got you excited as far as music that made you want to get a recording studio?
Probably at age 16, it was, Rage Against the Machine and Metallica, and then I oddly went from like that really heavy side to also like a lot of folk and gospel, because I just grew up around bluegrass, being in near like the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I just Bears referred to me as like the, what does he say, hippie ninja or hippie engineer, something like that.
Hippie, yeah, something like that.
I think it was a combination of just like I'm just kind of fascinated with like figuring out how everything works, like the physics of everything and like that side of it. And that seemed to me like a way that I could involve myself in music, but also just in case I didn't get lucky and get into a band that had a 20 plus year career, I would still be able to have music be a big part of my life on a regular basis. And then I just got really lucky and actually, had, when you think about the odds, like being in a super small town, country kids, you don't know anybody, you don't have any connections, you don't have any money, but it was just the right group of guys, and we were determined that we wanted to do this for a living. So we just, were undaunted by failure and kept at it. And we had to be self-sufficient. So I had to figure out how to record, and so we could make demos, and so that we could release our own music independently to try to get something going. And so we literally had our own like little record company factory, and I had, we burned the CDs at, back when there was like, you had like a 7-tier CD burner, and then we're like stamping the labels and taking them with us. And that was part of the story that we used to get some traction in the music industry. Like, hey, we've already sold like over 10,000 of these just out of our van and trailer.
Popping it out of that wobbly trailer, man. I like it. I like it. Josh, what artists? I mean, you didn't start in the same circle there, like you said at the beginning. You were with the guys. What got you originally into music?
Yeah, I mean, I was right out of high school. I started touring in bands and stuff, and so I was early on. I loved all kinds of different music, but I loved. I think piano was my first love, so I loved Elton John and Billy Joel, and I loved the Beatles, and so like Billy Preston was like the fifth Beatle, and I always loved what he brought to the band. Like at the time, he was never in the band, but he always supplemented his stuff, and it was always like made the thing so much better. So I always listened to his music, and then early on, I just kind of I realized that everybody wanted to play guitar or drums, and the keyboard player was always the one in the background that's like, we might have a keyboard player if we need some synth, but probably we're good, and so I kind of, my goal, I had some mentors that, made piano look cool. And so early on, I just kind of stuck with that. I was like, and it enabled me to get gigs, honestly, because there weren't as many of us. And so, I listened to all kinds of different music, and just was a lover of so many genres, and it helped me a lot because I played with different kinds of artists too. So I'd play with a rock band or a country band, or I would try to, figure out how to play with, like a folk thing or bluegrass, and just kind of figuring it all out. And that all kind of, funny enough, when I joined the band, when I joined Need to Breathe, the band kind of goes all over the place sometimes. Yeah. So like The Outsiders is a good example of kind of a folk rock tune. But when we have a song like Happiness or Hard Love, which is like synth rock, and so we kind of spread out, which is so early on, having all those kind of influences probably helped me where I'm at now with this band for
Nice.
sure.
Nice. Well, I actually saw Seth just a couple of years ago. You and Bear went to the 30th anniversary tour of Shake Your Money Maker, Black Crows. Were the Black Crows big inspiration as far as starting when you started playing, or was that like a later inspiration?
Yeah, they were big time. I mean, Bear tells a story that like he was actually doing acoustic type music, like totally acoustic. And then he saw the Black Crows and he was like, "What am I doing? I need an electric guitar." and that had a really big impact for sure. And then like just I think the Black Crows are something our whole band can agree on. They, I think the Southern rock element, the jams, the guitar solos, the soulful vocals, a lot to love. And so we've been huge fans of theirs. And I think we saw that on that tour in Nashville, and it was either like the first night or second night. It was right at the top of the tour. So it was awesome. It was, I mean, I may have cried a little bit if that tells you anything.
It's pretty significant. Yeah.
It was I will say it was one of those. So we all got to go to that, which was awesome. Like we all went as a band,
Nice.
and we went to the show. And after the show, we were all like looking at each other like that was awesome. And then right after the show, we decided we would go back to our rehearsal space and just jam for a couple hours because we were so inspired by this. Was not that long ago. We were like, we weren't kids. But we were acting like it, which was just really fun. Fun for us. And I have to say this really quick too, thinking back to my influences, somebody once asked me to be in a Black Crowes cover band and I turned it down because I thought they were Black Sabbath. And I was like, I don't have anything to add to this. I'm a keyboard player. And it's the biggest regret of my life. I should have done it because it would have been so fun to be in a Black Crowes cover band.
You could have been rocking those keys. Oh,
I know.
Man.
It was a big mistake.
Some hard to handle.
And it's like it would have been the perfect band to be in, and I missed it. I just thought
I don't know.
Much.
I think Need to Breathe worked out pretty well.
It's okay. It's okay, but that high school Black Crowes cover band really would have,
that would have set things off.
Really would have made the difference.
And which cover band did you decide to do instead?
Next question, please.
I
was actually in an NSYNC cover band in high school. I was, and we did it up, and that made all the difference. I would say, let me tell you how many girlfriends I had in high school. Okay,
a ton. All because of the NSYNC,
mostly the
cover band.
Yes, mostly yes. Yeah.
Josh, you like you mentioned, you joined Need to Breathe in about 2011, early 2011 there. Might have been before that, yeah. When did you first catch wind of Need to Breathe? Like, when did you first hear them, and what did you think when you caught wind of them? Were you like, oh, man, I need to get in this band?
I mean, honestly, kind of. I mean, I'd heard of the band. I think it was The Heat, that record that came out. I think somebody had given me that record, or I downloaded it illegally on something, I'm sure. But I heard it, and I just there was something about the way the band sounded. Of course, Bear's voice is amazing, but there was something really unique about the way the band like played together. You could tell that they were kind of breaking all the rules that you thought you had to, follow to be in a band. Like I remember watching videos of them in the studio early on, and they were taking like little candy boxes of Nerds and like making a shaker sound with it, or like beating on a guitar or tuning everything down to like weird tuning. And I just thought that's so interesting to like think of a rock band, but like break off, just do what you want. So rebellious, and it was really inspiring to me. So I actually was a fan of theirs before I even knew them. And we had some mutual friends. Actually, a friend of mine played keys with them on the road for a little while, and so I knew them through him, and then actually one of my mentors played keys on some of their early records too. So I remember him actually. He played keys on the Outsiders album, and he sent me a board mix or something of it. He's like, "Check this out. You're gonna love this." And I did. It was unbelievable. And I always thought, like, man, it would be so cool to play. Be cool to play in this band. That won't ever happen. But it would be cool to be in a group like that. That they're all just doing what they do, and it's such an inspiring place to be around. And then somehow the stars aligned, and I was able to do it with these guys. So it's crazy to think that it's been as long as it's been, because that feels kind of like yesterday too.
Yeah, forever ago, and and just a day ago at the same time.
Yeah, it really does.
You when you started the band, that was the thing. You started, and the next big tour, you're opening for Taylor Swift for like 90 shows.
Yeah.
How's that as an introduction into the band? Like, I mean, how's that as the show's introduction?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was weird because the whole thing with me, they called me to come play on The Reckoning before this tour. I'd like to do a couple of, I'm sure it was like a little bit of a, hey, we're looking for a keyboard player, or
Testing
hey, let's
it out.
just, yeah, I'm sure it was a little bit of a couple of different things. It was like, I think it was sold to me as like, man, we'd love to have you play on this. And I was like, no, you don't. You don't need me to play on this. You already got it. It's already done. Or like, whatever. But at the time I was like, this is such a cool opportunity to go and play with these guys and meet them and hang out. So we did that over a couple of days. And then I remember saying, and I think I said to Bear, I was like, hey, well, if you ever need a keyboard player, or if you need me to tune your guitars, I know y'all are going on a big tour, call me. And he's like, all right, cool. Like 4 months later, I waited for 4 months. I was like, they're never going to call me. And I was walking on stage at another gig where I was playing keys for some other band. And Bear literally sends me a text and says, hey, man, what are you doing for the next 9 months? That was literally what he sent me. And I was like, I don't know. I got some plans. I don't know.
Some things. There's a couple on.
And so I told him, I was like, I'm not sure. Let me call you. And so I played the show and then called him, and then we chatted and, talked to the other guys. And it was a wild time. It's kind of for me, it was a crazy time, but it was kind of a really special time, even though it was crazy. And you're getting, the world is just thrown at you every night. You're playing for you're opening for one of the biggest artists in the world. Everybody's learning who they are. We were, 13 years younger. I mean, we're still figuring out who we are, and individually and in some ways as a band. And, but those times were so special. I think we learned a lot about how we want to be, on stage. We learned, when you're in an arena, you got to play to the last row in the arena. You're using the cameras and all the stuff. And, I look back on it, I'm really proud of where the band's come, because now, all these years later, we're playing a lot of these same rooms that we were when we were opening up. And I feel like we kind of own it now. We're pretty great at what we do. We were good then. I think we were really good then. But now, I just think we've just learned so much and grown so much. And so it's cool to see where we've come from that tour and how we're doing it now. It's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Seth, I mean, touring with Taylor Swift, a huge moment, but you guys, like Josh said, I mean, you've had many massive moments in your career. You've released 10 albums now. I feel like there's got to be a ton of pivotal moments, those moments where you guys looked around at each other and were like, can it get any better than this? Did we just do that? That's amazing. In your mind, what are some of those moments that you guys had, that sort of holy crap, did we just do that sort of moments? Do any just automatically come out to you of wow, that was a pivotal moment for Need to Breathe?
Yeah, I mean on that tour we were just talking about, playing 2 nights at Madison Square Garden, and I think we rented a hotel room on the top floor somewhere, since we were staying overnight, and that's a standout memory, as is selling out Red Rocks for the first time and the fourth time, and going it's been a really special thing, a special bond that that we have with our fans, and the way that we've all kind of grown up together, and the way that so many people have allowed Needtobreathe's music to be, kind of woven into their story, where they've, used our music in a wedding or some kind of important kind of life event. So I think regardless of which room we're playing, like there are people, and I'm like, I know I've seen you at least 20 shows, and some people are like over 100,
Yeah.
But I think they just use, like, it's the great thing about live music for all artists, right? I mean, you get to literally go back and like enjoy music that really has really mattered to you, and you get to do it around a bunch of other people where it's mattered to them, and you get to hear it and see it in a way that you just can't replicate with headphones. And it's the thing that makes me still just love touring and getting to have nights like that where everyone's, we're all making memories.
Nice. Nice. I saw on I think it was on Instagram, you guys had a post about one lady that had been like to 150 shows or something like that. She was originally from the UK. You were with her, Josh. You had a picture, a video with her. What was her name? Do you remember her name off the top of it?
Yeah, her name's Jane.
Jane. Getting
Yeah. Yeah, she's been around a long time. She's been around longer than I have, for sure. And she helped with our fan club for a while, and she's just a good friend. It's cool now. In a lot of ways, she stepped away from kind of like helping lead some of that fan. She's kind of passed the torch in some ways, but she still comes to shows like as if she's like the biggest fan and loves the music and loves telling people about it. And like those are the kind of fans that like make what we do so rich and awesome. It's like it's amazing. We hear that kind of stuff all the time, which is cool. I mean, a lot of bands do it for a long time, for sure. Maybe not a lot of bands, but even the bands that do it for a long time, to have those kind of fans is still pretty rare. I think, that stay with you through the whole journey. Like you can jump in and out if you like the new record or whatever, but like we have fans that have been around since the beginning that are still there and trust the band with whatever we decide whatever we're feeling musically or tour wise or whatever. They're like, all right, I'll go with whatever you want to do. We're here for it. So that's a pretty cool thing. And it makes what we get to do, it makes it kind of, I don't know, we just get to try things and do things that are crazy, and our fans just follow it, and it's awesome. And we just have a really special relationship with them. Nice.
Well, you guys have a whole bunch going on outside of Needtobreathe. I mean, Josh, you've got Young Folk. Seth, you've got Bolt Farm Treehouse. You've got Bear's got Wilder Woods. Like, is there an understanding in the band? Has it been like discussed, like, hey, we've got all these other things, but Needtobreathe, that's the top priority? Is that sort of an understood thing, or does it go without saying? How does that work?
I think it goes without saying. Randall's got his modeling career, and I think he's waiting for like the big break. And I think we all are like understanding, like if it happens for him, like that's gonna take this front seat, and we all know that. But I think other than that, we all think Needtobreathe's the tops. Yeah,
yeah, it's super. It's I think it also it brings us together more. The fact that we're doing things individually, because it just number one, it's hard to get anything off the ground, period. You know what I mean? It just it comes with a lot of challenges, and for us all to be individually in that phase where we're trying our best to do that and shouldering that alone without the help of the others, it allows us to then come back together and be like, man, this is so great. I'm so glad that we all put in that work over these 20 years, and that we've got the support of one another. So it's made me appreciate everyone else by having a comparable.
Yeah. Well, now
I think so. I think too, like, I was just gonna say, like, I think that everybody has kind of a different lane too, which is kind of interesting. Like, it's not five guys out doing like solo projects that look like Need to Breathe. You know, like Seth's got an awesome thing that he's doing that's only kind of his world, and I do kids music. I mean, it's really cool where everybody's kind of got their own lane, and we're able to like support it from the band, and we honestly do support everybody's endeavors. I mean, we can only be Need to Breathe, the five of us, as we are. If we're like, when we're not Need to Breathe, if we feel like we have something that we're giving to the world or doing things that have our individual, you know, fingerprint on it and stuff. So I think that has helped us over this time, actually just being more excited about being together, appreciating that we can be who we want to be when we're apart. So
nice. Yeah.
Well,
now the most recent album, you guys finish writing and recording there in Minnesota at Pachyderm Studios, which, I mean, some awesome 90s albums up there. Nirvana in Utero, Throwing Copper, Live, Grave Dancers, Union, Soul Asylum. It seems like you guys really enjoyed the process of recording up there. I mean, was that a totally different experience than all the albums before?
Yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, we've always, at least as long as I've been in the band, I think Seth would say even before that, in a lot of ways, there's a magic about like leaving where you're comfortable. Even if we're like in a place that we're like working out the songs, you know, there's always going to be that part. But like going away to either, you know, finish the record or actually record the record, something about that has always been intriguing to us. You know, we went for Rivers in the Wasteland, we went to Sound City out in Van Nuys, California, and then we did some stuff at Blackbird, and just different places that we've you know, kind of called home while we were making the record. But we also, like, I think deep down we all like the idea of the mojo that's been there before. So like when you say all those artists, you're like, oh well, maybe we could capture some of the in utero magic or whatever. I think that we have that in our heads when we're making these records. I think that we're, you know, it'll be like when we did the record at Sound City, it's like, well, let's set up the drums right where Dave Grohl did when he played Smells Like Teen Spirit. You know, like that was those are the thoughts that you're thinking, and you're like, to be able to, you know, stand in those rooms. And then now that we've made those records, hopefully people that, you know, are like, I want to go where Need to Breathe recorded in Minnesota, you know, and hopefully that is something that happens. But we do really put a lot of time and thought into like where we're going to go. And then we just kind of lived there. Like for that Minnesota thing, we lived there for a couple of weeks and didn't go home, and we got snowed in. Didn't leave for dinner, didn't leave for, you know, gas station. I mean, like nothing. We just stayed at this house/studio for weeks at a time, snowed in, couldn't go anywhere. Almost missed Christmas because we were like cutting a little bit close on the snow. And then we just like, we're just in it and staying up late, getting up early, having meals together at the house. That's the kind of the world that we try to create when we're making it. It's like, we all have our own things going on. We have kids and families, but like for like these 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever, we're going to really buckle down and do this thing. And I think it shows. I think when you listen back to records, you're like, oh, this is like a, you know, a timestamp of this time and, you know, where the band was. And I've always thought that was cool. And then we get to film it. We've tried to film almost, you know, at least the last couple of records, as much footage as we can. Like Into the Mystery we filmed, and Out of Body we had some stuff. And it's cool to be able to look back personally to see what we did, but also for the fans to be able to do that too. It's really special.
Yeah. Seth, how'd you like the experience there in Minnesota?
It was too cold for me. But everything else Josh said was great.
I would agree.
It was cold. It was very cold.
It was 4 degrees.
I would agree. You would see
for a
me
Florida
in a
guy, right? I mean, 4 degrees for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
I'm like, why are we not in Florida making this record? It's December.
That's exactly right. There's some of those, I always think about it. There's some of those like police records, and I forget what island it was on, but there was this really famous recording studio in the Caribbean. And I know the Rolling Stones recorded there. I know the Police recorded there. And I was like, that is where I want to go. That seems like a good place to, I mean, you can still have all the things that Josh was talking about. You can be isolated. You can just be on that island, but it won't be 4 degrees. So, you know, It was a little positive there. Well, now,
We did
this
think that
seems like
if we were going to make, well, I was just saying, we did think if we were going to make like one, like whenever the band's like, all right, I think we're out of here. Like we're going to make one last record. We should just blow the budget on some awesome place. Don't worry about the music. Who cares? But just make sure that the place we're staying for 3 weeks is super cool. I think that would be fun.
last round party. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, this was the first album. I mean, it might seem to me, I might be wrong, but it seemed like the album that Bear really sort of released the reins of writing, because it seems like everybody had writing credits. There was a real collective experience. Was this more collectively written than any of the other albums?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like, I think we've always had, you know, even before I was around, I think everybody had their hand in the songs, but, you know, it was usually, you know, people that you know, Bear or his brother would bring in the song and kind of the band would take it from there. And, you know, but I think on this record and a little bit on Out of Body as well, I think it was I think we wanted to try to have everybody involved. And kind of maybe redefine what the band is today in 2024 and like who's in it and what's, there's a freshness in some ways. The band's been around for a very long time, but there's a freshness in this group of people. You know, we've got a new guitar player, and just like all of us have a gift. We may not be like the best songwriters in the world, but all of us have a gift of like, I think songwriting and knowing what kind of music we like and also like defining who the band is. I think I think all of us have at least a clear picture of like where the band's headed and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I think it was definitely fun to get to do that. And I think everybody was able to get in the room and write and contribute. And that makes it feel like we're all kind of in it together a little bit. I enjoy that part of it, and I enjoy hearing other people's ideas and like trying to collaborate as much as possible. This is not this isn't Needtobreathe is not a solo artist, so it's definitely a collaborative thing, and that helps it feel that way.
Mm-hmm. Seth, I mean, did it? When you look back as far as those first albums of Needtobreathe, was it? I mean, obviously the money and everything else as far as the establishment of the band is different, but as far as like the writing process, is it a different thing now than it was back then?
Yeah, I'd say the process has changed a little bit, but really, Bear deserves a lot of credit for the fact that pretty much a lifetime now, he just devoted himself to songwriting and just continues to get better and better at it. And I think he's always been good. So for us, it's been just really cool. Well, I mean, we hear songs that no one hears. Every record we make, we have to make these hard decisions about which good songs to not include on the album because there's only so many slots, So I think just hats off to him. He's got that collegiate athlete discipline of just like doing the work, and I bet you right now he's doing the work. He's in his studio and he's writing a song a day, and he's I think early on probably the advice we got from our first manager was like, look, you're probably not gonna make any money, so you probably want to own your songs and write them yourself, because that might be the thing, the money that gets you through for a little while. And I think that he was right. And then I think in a lot of cases, Bear will write an amazing song and ultimately share that with other people, whether it be writers in Nashville or from the band, just because he wants to give Needtobreathe the best chance possible to to give our fans the best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are there any, you just mentioned, are there any songs that you guys heard that you, like you said, you made that hard decision? Are there any songs in the back of your head that you're like, man, we should go back to that one?
Yes. I've got a song right now. It's like my ringtone on my phone. And it's not, well, actually, I guess it's my alarm tone. Like, so when I've got alarms.
Yeah.
That thing goes off and they hear it all the time. And I've just kept it as that so that when we're together and it goes off, I'm like, this is a great song. I don't know why we haven't
It's
done
true.
it yet.
He does do that. That is true.
It's still here, guys. We can still pull this one out. I like it. Well, I've got 2 more questions for you guys. I'm going to let you go after that. But the first question I wanted to ask, the golf tournament you guys used to, I know you had in 2021. Is the golf tournament ever going to come back?
It's a great question. We moved states, you know, from South Carolina to Tennessee. So that kind of upended the course that we were doing it at and everything. And then we were like, okay, let's relaunch in Nashville. And then COVID hit. And then we like had a tour. So we have wanted to, but it has not happened. But we found other ways to raise money for charity. So that's the good news.
That's a better news, but I want to play golf. So I you know, if you guys ever fire it up, let me know. I'm in. I'm in.
We play golf all the time. I mean, I'm terrible, but Seth's really good. Bear's really good. So if we ever get to Florida and you want to let's just go. I'll drive the cart. I'll be your caddy. I'll tell you what. Every time you're about to hit a shot, I'll tell you which club you should hit with.
It might be wrong, but I'll tell you.
It will be. It will be wrong.
Putter.
You'll putter for sure. Putter. I think it's the putter, guys. You're trying to draw. You're teeing off, sir.
Yeah.
No.
You look like you're about, let's see, 50 yards from the hole. I'd say go with the driver. Just go ahead and try.
I'd say for sure the driver. Yeah.
Give it out. Seth, you were listed as the 28th best golfer in music by Golf Digest back in 2014.
Whoa, I did not know that.
Yeah. Do you think you've raised up that list? Do you think you've had enough practice, or has the new child, the new parent life taken away from golfing?
I've probably fallen in the ranks.
It's all right. We're gonna keep that, keep that high point of the golf life, keep that 28th up there. It's nice.
He may not be as good. He may not be as good of his golfer as he was, but his kid is the best 7-month-old Easter egg hunter in the world. So I mean, that's got to be something,
What matters is that I had a great golf coach in high school, and I got to mail him a copy of that Golf Digest magazine and just say, like, thank you so much. And then we played a show, probably it's been in the last 6 months, in Myrtle Beach at the House of Blues. And Myrtle Beach is a big golf town. And he lives there for part of the year and plays golf. And he and his wife are driving. This is my golf coach. They're just driving to dinner, and he's he looked on the House of Blues billboard, and he's like, "Hey, that's Seth. Hey, that's the night." He's like, let's ride by. And there's a line of people around the block, and I just happened to be walking to the bus, and he just happened to be driving by, and he's like, "Hey, Seth," and I was like, "Coach, what's up?" And
that's amazing.
Yeah, the timing. It was meant to be.
There you go, man. Well,
he said he's proud of me.
For the Golf Digest placement, or for your amazing career?
All of the above. He's like, he said, I didn't think you really had a future in golf, but I'm glad you found something else that worked out for you.
And you were like, hey, I needed a little bit more faith on the golf too. That'd be nice, man. Come on. I got a career in it. Jeez, you see it, 28th. Well, last question. What can Jacksonville folks expect for this show here, April 26th?
It's gonna be awesome. I'll tell you this. It's been a while since we've done one leg of a tour and taken a bunch of time off. It's been it will be 4-ish 5 months that we've taken off, and I'm going a little bit crazy. I'm going to be honest. I'm ready to go and play some rock and roll. I love my family, and they'll never listen to this podcast, so I can say this. I love my family, but I got to get out of here. Okay? I got to go. No, for real. It's going to be really fun. We got some surprises too. We're going to change some things from the fall that we did, make it really special for the spring. So It's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of songs that fans are, hopefully expecting to hear, and then a lot of new songs, and then a lot of some surprises too. Some stuff that we're changing it's going to be really fun. And Jude and the Lion's awesome. They're a great, they're a great band to open, but they're also great guys to be on the road with. And yeah, I can't wait to get back out there.
Nice. Well, Seth, Josh, I don't want to keep you too long. I already kept you too long, but I want to thank you for coming on the show today.
Man, thanks for having us. This has been fun.
For sure. Listeners, make sure you check out Need to Breathe April 26th at Daly's Place, or you can follow them anywhere on social media and streaming right now. Let's take a listen to Dreams right here on the Doc G Show. And we are back here on the Doc G Show. You just heard Need to Breathe, Seth and Josh. Claude, you probably at the same time, just like I was talking about with them, you probably heard their songs in the rec center at South Carolina. You didn't even know.
Yeah. I mean, I think I know you spent more time there than I did, but I
spent way too much time there.
Yeah, I heard a lot of songs in there playing shooting hoops and lifting weights back when I cared about those types of things. Back
before I gave up on fitness.
Who does fitness? I'm just kidding. Everybody should work out. I'd highly recommend get a jog in.
Claude is recommending to everyone physical activity.
That's right.
Physical activity. Subscribe on YouTube.
Said that there's just two things. And if you need to make a phone call, go to New Jersey.
Those are the three. If listeners take anything out of today's show, it needs to be those three things.
And Porzingis has been consistent.
He should have been an all-star.
There we go. But I want to thank Need to Breathe for coming on the show. Really do appreciate it. Listeners, if you get a chance, make sure you get out to their show here in Jacksonville in April. It's going to be fantastic. But we need to move on to what we call the fastest growing segment in the world, which would be the Mike C Top 3. Now,
yes.
Listeners, as you may recall, if you have a good memory, remembering things from all the way from the beginning of the show, we have top 3 things the cafeteria used to serve in school. Now, I left it any school. We can do elementary, we can do middle, we can do high. Mine was pretty consistent. I think it was didn't change too much. There was a little bit more variety in high school, but not really. I had pretty crappy schools. So I will give honorable mention. Claude, you're allowed to have more than 3 things. We throw them in the honorable mention. So if there were any things that you didn't have listed, feel free to put them in here.
Okay.
I was a big fan of tacos. They reach my honorable mention. But the reason I didn't put them in the top 3, they just didn't have enough meat.
Oh, come on.
They just... it's like a thimble full of meat that they'd put in this giant tortilla, and you're like, dude, come on. Like, you needed like 47 of them to fill you up. So I like them, but I'm not going to put them on the top 3. Also, real big, this isn't an entree, but chocolate chip cookies.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely killer at my high school. That was one thing that they could do. They made them so many days out of the week, and I was so happy because they were so good.
It's funny you say that because I used to chow down on some homemade, school-made chocolate chip cookies.
So good. So good, Claude. And then my last honorable mention, corn dogs. Love the corn dogs. I mean, a corn dog I'm not going to really turn down anywhere.
No.
So, do you have any honorable mentions, Claude?
Yeah, the list that I came up with, I wanted to be diverse.
Okay.
So I'm proud of the list, and I'm glad that you left it open to all grade levels, because it's at every level. But I'd say I went to a few different schools, and some of the schools that I went to would order chain restaurants for lunch.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to say Chick-fil-A. I didn't want to say
Yeah, that's a cop-out.
KFC or
Yeah,
it's a
yeah.
cop out. But one of the schools that did do the chain restaurants, they would actually do on Wednesdays a basically homemade chicken Alfredo pasta.
Ooh. Oh.
And then I don't remember the exact other day, but we'd get 2 homemade things basically. It was chicken Alfredo pasta. And then one of the assistant athletic director decided one day that he just wanted to start cooking chicken wings. So he made his own chicken wings, his own little recipe, his marinade and all that. And anyway, I just remember being a kid. This was elementary school, actually. And that chicken Alfredo and those chicken wings were really, really good.
That's a class school right there, man.
We got lucky.
That is good stuff. I don't have anything on my top 3 like that, but it's fine.
Oh, just you wait.
It's fine. My number 3, Claude, shrimp poppers.
Oh, that's good.
They couldn't just call them shrimp, I'm pretty sure, because they didn't technically have enough shrimp in them to actually call them just shrimp.
They couldn't use the name popcorn shrimp?
No, I don't think so, because like I said, I don't think they had enough actual shrimp in them. I'm pretty sure it was just like cornmeal that was sprayed in shrimp juice and then fried. But you know what? They were delicious. That shrimp bread was delicious. I loved it. It was delicious. Claude, you're number 3.
Yeah. So I said I've got a diverse list.
Yeah.
My number 3 was a 10-minute break snack. It wasn't actually, you could eat it in the lunchroom, but the big Texas cinnamon roll.
Wow.
I want to go with that because just about every day we got a 10-minute break in middle school. This is 6th grade.
I like it.
That I would always go to the vending machine and get a big Texas cinnamon roll, and I would heat it up in the microwave.
Ooh.
You could eat that for breakfast. You could eat it at the 10-minute break. You could eat it as a dessert for lunch. That thing was, again, it was universal for all meals during the school day. 24
hours a day you can go with that thing. My go-to in the vending machine at school was the hot fries, Claude. That was my go-to.
Yeah.
I would, and it was the cheap Lance vending machine, like from like 1950, like just one of those super old ones. And those hot fries had probably been in there since 1950.
That makes it better.
Oh, they were so good. They were so good. Claude, my number 2, hot dogs.
Yeah.
They could boil. I mean, it was just boiled hot dogs. They weren't even grilled. There was nothing there, but they could boil the crap out of a hot dog, man. The simplicity of their dogs were unrivaled. It just and here's real quick. Here's how white trash DNA is entwined in me, Claude. Here's how much. I remember one day I had like 3 hot dogs for lunch. And then I had track practice later that day. We had speed work. We were doing 400 repeats on the track. And I actually ran better that day than almost any other day. Because the white trash in me was like, finally, some good food. You've got those hot dogs in you. Let's get it, man.
Gave you the fuel you needed.
Apparently. Claude, you're number 2. What do we have?
I need to explain it, but it's called a pizza stick.
Oh.
And basically think of a
pizza on a stick?
No, totally not like a flatbread. It was think of like a very long extended pizza roll.
Okay.
It was a stick though. It was very long, and it was done at the school. They didn't order these.
Have you seen Subway has these things called sidekicks now?
Yeah, I did see that. The foot long.
Is it like that with like pizza toppings in the center?
Yeah, similar. It's basically, think of like a very here's a better example. Think of the Hot Pocket, but instead of it being wider and thick,
Yeah.
Squeeze it in, it's just longer.
Yeah. Okay.
But
okay.
it was a pizza stick, and if you got a little side of some marinara or some
Ooh.
ranch,
Oh, get out of town.
it was awesome.
I don't doubt it.
This was before the years of heartburn and needing Tums from time to time. But man, I
before
could eat
the
some pizza
years
sticks.
of old man. That's yes.
Again, go exercise, y'all. Go exercise.
My number one goes along with your number two, which would just be Pizza Club. We weren't fancy enough to have pizza sticks, sadly.
I don't know if I'd call the pizza stick fancy.
They're fancy. Don't kid yourself, Claude. That
For
is
those-
fancy.
Look, the people who know about the pizza stick, I don't know if fancy is the word that they would use, but I appreciate it.
Let's be honest. Any school had to get creative and weird with most of their things. I mean, we had so many weird named things. That you were like, what is this again? And they're like, it's like chicken. And you're like, what? Like chicken? Shouldn't it be chicken? Like, they're just, I'm sure at some point they were like, hey, we can't get pizza anymore, but we can get you these logs. And they're like, all right, pizza sticks it is. I guess that works. Let's throw them in. Mike, but my number one, pizza, and I gotta be specific on this. Pizza in a convex isosceles trapezoid shape.
Okay. Not a standard slice of pizza.
No, listeners, if you're unfamiliar with your geometry, right? You got to think of a square or a rectangle, and then just smash one side in a little bit on the top, and that's what you got. The long side of a rectangle, smash one side in. There's your convex isosceles trapezoid. And I don't know what happened here, Claude. It started off rectangular. Back in the day, it was just rectangles of pizza. And then somewhere along the line, one of the lunch ladies was like, you know what? Let's try to make this more of a pizza slice. But they didn't go all the way. They just sort of, like I said, tapered it on one side.
I've got a conspiracy theory for you.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the videos of people they cook a whole pizza pie?
Yeah.
And then they cut out a line in the very center of the pie and push the two ends together where it's still even, but they ended up taking out a portion of the pie.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe your lunch ladies or lunch men decided that they wanted some lunch as well. And they cut out the middle of the pizza and created a new shape.
No. I'll go ahead and dispel that rumor because I saw this happening multiple times. And I just sort of wonder. I mean, there were giant cooking sheets of pizza, and you're just like, why are you cutting them in this design? What's going on? And I'll also say we had no lunchmen. I knew all the lunch ladies. They were all ladies. Shout out to all of them. Pretty sure none of them are alive because I
wanted to be inclusive, I
get it. I get it, but I'd say they've probably all passed away now since this was 1950 when I was getting rectangular or trapezoid pizza.
Before you needed Tums, basically.
Exactly. But also I will also need to clarify that square pepperonis on the pizza. That was necessary too. For some reason, square pepperonis made it even better. I don't know what it was. Loved it. I made it almost the whole show without saying Mike.
Hey, I'm proud of you. That's okay.
Thank you. Claude, you're number one.
All right. Middle school. Turkey tetrazzini.
Whoa.
Yeah. And this was clearly delivered to the school in a bunch of either frozen pieces that they cooked together, or it was just packaged frozen meals. Nonetheless, it was frozen food that they thawed out and fed to all the students. Very healthy, I know. To this day, I'll find myself from time to time thinking about that turkey tetrazzini specifically. And I know that I'll never have that specific turkey tetrazzini ever again. But man, that turkey tetrazzini, it was unreal. It was really good. And they only gave you one scoop of it.
Oh, Could you not get it? I mean, could you get extra? Could you buy a second entree?
You were only allowed because you had to. This was public school. This was at Chestnut Oaks in Sumter, South Carolina. This is actually where I played basketball for Zion Williamson's stepdad.
There we go.
Little fun fact to add in there.
Yeah, yeah.
But they would give you one scoop, and I think lunch only cost like a quarter or 50 cents or something crazy cheap that. But because you were paying for it and it wasn't considered a free lunch from the public school, you could only get one.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Man.
But shout out to the turkey tetrazzini and whoever made that, wherever you are. Thank you for that memory.
I will say I did it again. I did it. Now I'm off.
You're on a roll.
I'll say though, as far as the pizza, you can get as many slices as you want. There was no restrictions.
That's how it should be.
There were no restrictions. I could come in there with a bankroll of $50 and get 865 slices of pepperoni pizza.
Yeah,
because it was like 10 cents a slice.
They believed in your schools to feed the kids. In my school, it was F the kids.
They believed in our school, let's get these guys obese as fast as possible. And we were like, deal, we're going to do it. We're American, you know? It's good.
Let's fatten these kids up and make them some great athletes or something.
Claude, that was a good topic. I enjoyed that topic. That was nice.
Was
good. Claude, we need to finish up with our birthday suits. We have 2 left. You're 1 for 1.
Okay.
You can leave the show 3 for 3. It's still possible.
I went 3 for 3 last time. I'm a little worried about this time.
I'm worried about the second one. You want to do the harder one first? See if we can get that, or you want to save it for third?
Let's save it for third. Put the pressure on.
Okay, I think
now
you
watch me miss the easier one.
I'm pretty sure you can get this one. Here we go. Born on April 3rd, 1961 in New York City. Our birthday suit wearer was first known for his stand-up and working on Saturday Night Live. He had stand-up specials like Raw and Delirious. And he had characters on Saturday Night Live like Buckwheat, Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, and Gumby. He went on to star in movies like Beverly Hills Cop, Coming to America, The Nutty Professor, Dr. Dolittle, and he was the voice of Donkey in Shrek. Name that birthday suit wearer.
None other than Eddie Murphy.
Correct.
Yes.
Eddie Murphy is correct. Yeah.
That's great.
Yes.
Glad I could be on a show where we talk about Eddie Murphy.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you. I know it's not probably his proudest moments. I'm sure his like stand up and some of his other movies are his proudest moments. But I don't know. His acting, I guess you would call, or voice work in Mulan and Shrek are some of my favorite animated situations ever. Like he is funnier as the dragon in Mulan and as Donkey in Shrek. Then I just, oh man.
One of my favorite movies is Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence, which funny enough, I think it's Martin Lawrence's character's name is Claude. In that movie. But that aside, the movie itself is really funny. R.I.P. to Bernie Mac, who's also in that. But they just had an all-star lineup. Cast Anthony Anderson before he really blew up. But Eddie Murphy, I don't know if I've watched him in anything that's bad. I mean, everything is just hilarious.
Yeah, one of my favorite little segments where he talks about ogres being like onions, where Shrek's trying to explain ogres are like onions.
Yeah.
And then Donkey has to let him know. What about parfait? Everybody likes parfait. You ever heard somebody say I don't like parfait? No. Oh, love it. Love it. Happy birthday to Eddie Murphy. Let's see. He's turning, what is that? 63. 63.
Wow.
Yeah. Looks fantastic for 60.
Yeah, he does.
Okay, Claude, here we go. This is where this is gonna. I don't know.
Pressure's
We'll see
on.
Jeez.
Born on April 3rd, 1934 in London, England. Our birthday suit wearer is known for her research with chimpanzees. She's been a primatologist and an anthropologist for almost 70 years. Any ideas off of that?
Would it be Jane Goodall?
Yeah!
Look at that.
3 for 3, Claude. Nicely done.
Don't call me James Harden. Don't call me the Celtics.
I was concerned. I was like, Jane Goodall, I don't know if Claude's going to pull it out, but I should have known.
I
You're
was
a
an Animal
chimpanzee
Planet fan growing up.
There we go. She first went to Africa back in 57, Claude. 57.
Wow.
Yeah. And then after she'd already done a bunch of field work, her mentor said, hey, you should get some degrees, because she had no degrees, Claude. And she went to the University of Cambridge, and she completed an undergraduate degree and a PhD in only 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Her dissertation was titled Behavior of Free Living Chimpanzees.
Nowadays, kids can't use a landline phone, and she did that in 4 years.
She did a dissertation all on a typewriter. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane, man. Her institute, the Jane Goodall Institute, has 16 offices around the world. And fun fact, dogs are her favorite animal. Yeah. I really would have thought chimpanzees, honestly. I was like, I guess maybe it's one of those things. Work with them too much, they've lost their luster. She's like, nah, come home to my dog. I'm fine with that, But she's turning 90. Give it up, Jane Goodall. Happy birthday, Jane.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. Just spreading the awareness, like you said. Animal lover, always good. Always need more conservation in this world, Claude. More conservation, Now me, if I were sucked into anything, I think it'd be it would be lemurs, not chimpanzees. I would have to go to Madagascar and see those little fuzzy fellas. They just seem much more exciting to me than chimpanzees. Chimpanzees, they have that mean streak. Now we have Jane Goodall to thank for that, or Jane Goodall. We have Jane to thank for that because she did the research on it. So but
lemurs would be fun. They'd be entertaining.
Yeah. Well, see, and they're even if they have a mean streak, they're too small to really do some damage.
Yeah.
They start attacking you, just sort of throw them off and be like, "What are you doing? Get out of here, man!" But a chimpanzee, that thing starts attacking you. Ugh.
Not too many options there. No,
you got problems then. But anyways, happy birthday to Jane. Happy birthday to Alec Baldwin. Happy birthday to Eddie Murphy. Claude, we have some amazing shows coming up. I can't wait. We have the fantastic Australian artist G Flip coming on the show next week. We have also the fantastic Ohioan group. Ohioan? I guess that would be it. Ohioan group. Oliver Hazard coming on the show. Very good group there. We have some others in the works. I don't know which one is gonna go which, so I don't want to let the names out yet. But Claude, we got to wrap it up for this week. I have been your host, Doc G. With me this week and this week only. So soak it up. Soak it up until the next time he's on, listeners. Claude, fly till I die, a Lathan.
Always an absolute pleasure to the listeners. Appreciate each and every one of you, and just cannot wait till the next time I'm on so we can talk about how these playoffs went. Maybe I go 3 for 3 on birthday suits again. I don't know. I'm feeling dangerous over here now. Yeah.
Woo.
Confident.
Looking it. All right. Until next time, listeners, zip it up and zip it out.